There was just not a lot of things to do. You can get yourself in trouble. They're also the same people who lived through the Berlin Wall being knocked down. This is the most disgusting thing for me because I actually can't wrap my head around the fact that they don't speak German and they're working in a public service industry type of place. Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute since I've done one of these sit downs, and I feel like it's totally necessary since moving to Berlin. If you follow my vlogs, you'll know that about 7 months ago I moved from southern Stuttgart to Berlin, and I've been absolutely loving it. So I wanted to make this video to give you guys an update. And if you hear anything in the background, I have a new puppy. Again, if you are not following me, please do follow me. You would have known I have a new puppy, Bo. He is a Maltipoo and he is just making noise in the background. So if you hear anything, it's gonna be my puppy. I'm so sorry. So I'm gonna give you guys things you should know before moving to Berlin, as well as update you on life here. So the first thing I wanna mention to you guys is things to do. And like I said, I have been living in Germany before. I lived in southern Germany, specifically Stuttgart, and I lived in a village, literally a village, and there was just not a lot of things to do. And Stuttgart itself, the city of Stuttgart, it's a city. There are bars and things, but it is still not at the capacity as Berlin. And for me, I put Berlin on the same level as, for example, living in New York or living in the UK or living in London, for example. It's like one of those cities, and the things to do in Berlin are endless. So the things that I really love so far, the cafes. And this is something for a whole other video of basically like German culture shocks, but I never was a cafe person. Like living in New York, Starbucks is not really a cafe, even though that's the vibe it's trying to give. It's not that type of place. But in Germany, cafes are the things. You want to be able to go to a cafe and like get a coffee, get a croissant, actually sit there, read a newspaper, look out the window, do all that type of stuff. And Berlin, the city of Berlin, this is the place to do it and the place to explore different types of cafes. Outside of cafes, there are so many bars here in Berlin, so many clubs to go to. I'll insert some clips here of a kind of techno party that I went to. The reputation of Berlin, I think, is actually true. You can find a scene for everyone, but specifically the party scene, it is intense. And specifically, if you like techno, Berlin is definitely the place to be. I don't like techno, I'm sorry, disclaimer, I hate techno, but I can still find like Afrobeats clubs or chill clubs, for example, that play all types of music. The next thing I want to talk about is the friends situation, meeting people. That could potentially be the proper topic here. And if you've been following me, you know I've been having some back and forth with making friends in Germany, just because I feel that there is a huge, I don't know, cultural difference, and there's some things that you say that might just go right over a German's head, and it kind of makes friendship a little bit difficult, as well as Germans don't necessarily like to approach or initiate contact for friendship. And this is just my experience living here for over 6 years now. Please take everything with a grain of salt, your grain of salt, because this is all my experiences and this is what I'm going to bring to the table here. But friend update, I think I'm quite content. I met a friend through YouTube here. And if you're moving to Germany, I would also recommend, I think it's called International Berlin Women's Facebook group. This is also a place where you can meet friends as well as Bumble friends. That worked for me in Stuttgart. But the friends side of things, I'm doing really well. I have my stable set of friends. They're not all connected, but still have my stable set of friends. And with school and work and now a puppy, it's actually enough. I don't know how I can manage like even 10 friends. But the point I'm trying to make as well is that making friends in Berlin was actually relatively easy. I know I came on here with my vlog and I was like, okay, I want to start making friends, but I want to make sure it's reciprocated and all of that. And even after that, it was relatively quick making friends. It's 7 months now and I have, I would say, enough friends right now. And when I was living in Stuttgart, it was literally like the whole 5 and a bit years being there that I did not have like stable friends that I met there. You know, I had friends when I studied there, one friend, but I didn't meet any new people. Now living in Berlin, it's 7 months and I have the right amount of friends for me. I'm really, really happy about that. And I would say for you, if you're living in Germany or if you want to move to Germany, I would highly recommend Berlin because It is easy to make friends. There are a lot of internationals here. If you go to a bar, you will for sure meet someone. You don't know how many times I've been to a bar and I just hear someone speaking English, or they hear me speaking English, and then they just pop in and then we make friends like that. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is the people in Berlin. And this is something that I kind of shied away from talking about whenever I, spoke about living in Stuttgart, because I had some really negative experiences living there and I just didn't want to open up a can of worms. But I can for sure talk about the people here in Berlin. Outside of, for example, internationals, I mean the actual German people living here in Berlin. Not all of them, but most of them that I've encountered, they are so open-minded. They're also the same people who lived through the Berlin Wall being knocked down. So they were there through this era. I won't dive into the history of it, but when the wall came down, there was this whole new age of freedom and doing whatever you want and no one caring. But this is what German people that I've been encountered with, what they told me why they're so open-minded is because they've lived through it, they've seen some things, and they're just a little bit more accepting. And I won't say that, there aren't terrible people here or scary people here in Berlin, because trust me, there are. But overall, the feeling that I get here is a inclusive feeling. And again, in some scenarios, it might not be as I say, but this is just how I feel. So far, I'm really enjoying the people here. I'm enjoying living here. I will say this about the German people here in Berlin. There's so many internationals here, so if you want to learn German, you really have to try, because a lot of Germans here speak perfect English and they would prefer to probably speak in English. But for your own benefit, really try to speak German. And where it's possible, for example, the doctor's office, I'm still a little bit iffy because of the terms, but really do try. So the next topic that I want to bring up is the biking culture in Berlin. And I won't go too deep into it. It's not even a huge topic, but it's something that I feel like you should be aware of, because in New York, suburbs, I don't really see people biking around like that, and it's not that crazy. But here people do bike. There are a lot of bikers. There's a lot of bikers with their kids. There's a lot of bikers with their dogs. They're all like biking to work, biking here, biking there, and that's normal. It's a city and you need to get somewhere, and it's more eco-friendly. We get it. It's great, actually. But the one thing I will say, and please do not, come for me in the comments, but and maybe I didn't mention this before, but Germans are still, they still have this culture of being very straightforward. And I've never seen, I won't say aggressive bikers, but I feel like the bikers here, they really, really speak their mind. I've seen this a few times where bikers have actually just like flipped people off who are driving, or completely stopped their bike in the middle of the road if they saw you do something wrong while they were biking, and they would just like straight up yell at you and be like, that's not how you don't have the right of way. I don't know if this is just embedded in the Berlin culture, but it is something I see often, as well as stay off of the bike lane. Like, don't have one pinky on the bike lane before anybody comes with their bikes and sees you. They will give you the nastiest look ever. They will scream at you, say whatever. It's happened to me as well. Like, you're walking and you just accidentally, step on the biking lane. And sometimes you just forget because they're right next to the pedestrian walkway. So just be aware of that. Take that serious. Make sure you are not on the bike lane. Make sure you mind your business and leave the bikers so that they can get to their destination. The next topic is around rent and finding a flat in Berlin. I don't think I ever told you guys actually the story of how we found our flat here. It was an extraordinary story, and to be honest, I wouldn't recommend it because who knows. But first of all, the rent prices in Berlin are very high, and this is something that I never expected. The idea that I had prior was that Berlin is actually one of the cheaper cities to move to in comparison to, for example, Hamburg or Stuttgart or Munich. It's actually the cheaper city. But on the contrary, since living here and searching on 𝗰𝘀𝘆𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, this is where you can find an apartment in Germany, the prices here are actually ridiculous. I would correlate that to Stuttgart and Munich prices, and I was very much not prepared for that, because everyone was telling me previously that it is so cheap to, afford a apartment here, and that's actually not what I found. I think prices are very, very expensive here, although not as expensive in comparison to, for example, the US, but still it's very expensive. I know that I started to look for an apartment approximately like 3 months to 4 months prior to actually moving here, and every time we would look on 𝗰𝘀𝘆𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, it would be maybe 3 apartments in the whole city of Berlin, and 2 of them would be Tauschwohnungen. So this means that Tauschwohnung is like you switch apartments with that person. So it's really not a free apartment, it's just for a limited time and you switch apartments because somebody maybe wants to downsize for a bit or somebody wants a little bit more space for a bit, etc. Doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. The point is there would only be then 1 apartment in all of Berlin on 𝗵𝗁𝘀'𝘀 available for you to rent, and then that means that you have to compete against thousands of other people who potentially have a higher salary than you, or I don't know the scenario, but the competition is wild and the availabilities are low. And just to do like a short story of how we got our flat, it was really sketchy. And basically we found somewhere and we put in a security deposit because we're like, this is too good to be true. And we could only get it if we took it like 2 weeks from that point, and we still had our rent to pay for 2 more months, but we were like, okay, I don't know if we're ever gonna find somewhere, and this place seems really nice, but they're like, no, you can only get it if you take it right now, and if you send the security deposit. Mind you, we also never actually saw the flat in person, so this could have been a huge, massive scam. But after looking at the landscape and seeing that, wow, we're gonna be homeless in a few months, I was like, let's just take the chance. It seems like a reputable brand. Let's just go for it. And we did, and we lucked out because it was a real place. It was legit, but it was very sketchy. Don't do that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I've popped a bow up here to say hi. Thanks again anyways for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave your comments, your feedback in the comment section below. And I know I didn't mention this in the beginning, but disclaimer, these are all my experiences and everything is based on what I think. So please just be aware of that and be respectful of that. I hope you guys are staying happy, healthy, and safe, and I'll see you in another video.
And then you will go away. I'm not gonna be begging you to stay. Send